here again.
We're here. We made it.
Woohoo!
Cheers, indeed. This is full of iced coffee. Wrong franchise. Sorry. Full of iced coffee. So,
nice.
Yeah. I always try to have a Star Trek coffee mug, but this was a big coffee day.
It's a big coffee kind of Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. Awesome. We've made it.
We're here. We've made it. The end of TNG. Yeah. Hard to believe.
Hard to believe. It kind of went by really fast.
It did. Yeah. We were clipped through these.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it was fun though. It was good.
Really fun.
Yeah, it was good for me to rewatch some that like I just haven't watched in a really long time. So
yep.
Yeah, it's really good. But I am like itching. I think I texted you. I'm like,
I know.
I want to watch Deep Space Nine.
I'm so excited for Deep Space Nine. I can't even tell you. Like, yeah, I'm really, really excited.
I'm worried that I may be overhyping it, but at the same time, I'm not.
That's kind of how I feel. It seems to be a fan favorite, and then I'm really excited to watch it.
Yeah. So, but we're gonna
we're there.
Yeah, so much fun. And do you want to mention your pin?
Yes, I have my Awarfable pin here. Thanks to the Twitter handle. I can't remember.
A Harvey. Yeah.
A Harvey. Yep. Yes.
Thank you.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
I love it. It's so great. I think we both have shirts coming. With those will be. We
have shirts coming, mugs coming, all kinds of stuff.
I already have the episode planned for our Deep Space Nine episode that these are all going to come out.
I love it.
So, awesome.
Can't wait for more Awarfable moments.
Oh,
let's dive in.
So many great ones. Hi, Christoph. Yeah, let's dive in. So the first one, the episodes we're going to talk about today, if you haven't seen these before, Samantha's never seen any of like these Star Trek ones. So we're watching them together. All right, so we're going to discuss Firstborn, Bloodlines, Emergence, Preemptive Strike, and All Good Things. And that's it. That's the end. This was a pretty good set of episodes.
It was, yeah. I liked these episodes, and they did a really good job of wrapping up the series, I thought, which is, challenging.
Yeah, for sure. They managed to have sort of those like callback final moments, characters come back without it feeling super forced. If that makes sense. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
it was really fun. So Firstborn. Hey, Adam. This is the episode where Worf gets visited by mysterious Klingon Kumtar, saying that Worf's brother Kern sent him to help Alexander grow into becoming a Klingon warrior. And then a surprise twist that it could Kumtar is Alexander traveled back.
Alexander from the future.
So what do you think about this one?
I loved this episode. This is probably my favorite Alexander episode, to be honest. He was less creepy looking to me in this. It was just a little bit older, like all the features sort of fit together. So I was like, yeah, I like Alexander. And now if I were ever to see like any of the older Alexander episodes, I would probably be like, oh, look, it's Alexander. Right. But yeah, no, the story here was really, really fun. I liked that we see adult Alexander for one thing, like that was kind of cool. And I think the payoff of this episode, the ending was really Worf accepting that Alexander's going to go his own way, which I think is something all parents deal with in a sense of like, they want their kids to go a certain way maybe, or study a certain thing in school or whatever, but the kid's going to make their own choices, and they only can make their own choices. Well, not only, but it's easier if the parents are kind of supportive of that. And I think this really wrapped that up in a really, really wonderful way. It was a great Worf Alexander episode.
Without it being too like after school special.
Yeah, exactly. Which I was surprised too. I was like, this could easily go really trite, but it just kind of, felt very mature.
Yeah. And I think too, like the thing that I liked about it is it didn't, it working was not dependent on the fact that Kantar was Alexander. Like, there was still enough weight to the storyline, and for Worf trying to figure out his own journey and his own relationship with his son was interesting in its own right. And then the whole Kantar third act twist, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the same thing. I mean, I think that's what made it a really, really strong episode, is that, hi Todd, you know, exactly like what you say, the main core of the episode being Qatar from the future, Qatar being Alexander from the future. Right. It just worked really well. Yeah.
I mean, I love me some Klingons, so I was really curious what you thought about this one.
Oh, yeah. Right. It's all coming back now. So this was an interesting exploration of the, youth Klingons needing to, go through their rites of passage. And they did the whole festival thing, which I actually thought was really interesting and fun to watch. It was very cool, that reenactment sort of, festival.
Yeah.
And
thanks, Peace Tamish. You like my robe.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Thanks.
And what was I going to say? I thought the way that Qatar spoke to Alexander was very interesting, because he was quite kind, and about like when he goes in to say goodnight to him, I thought that was a really interesting scene of a gentler side. I mean, obviously he had an ulterior motive, but it was kind of a gentler side of Klingon communication.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of character development for Klingons to me in this episode. As someone who's still not necessarily on the fence, but sometimes a Klingon episode starts and I'm like, oh God.
That's okay. We'll allow that. Yeah, that's valid. Thanks, Rouge. Yeah, so no worries, Homer. Happy to have you here. We did see some cameos for some other Klingons, though. The Duras sisters came back. Duras sisters. Hey, Yoga, my Slytherin sister.
Awesome.
Yeah, I loved Quark's cameo. Obviously, you've only seen Quark as cameos, basically, at the opening of Voyager and then this. But
I know he has a bar, I think.
Yeah. But they did a great job. I mean, I am curious what your thoughts are on Quark in this small thing, but it was a perfect scene for him. So if people don't remember this is basically like they find this knife and they're investigating like what's going on with the assassination attempt and everything. And then Riker calls up Quark and they just have this great view screen moment where Riker's like, you still owe me money, bro. And he's like, oh, I paid you back. He's like, yeah, in vouchers for your own bar. And then when they call themselves square, Quark's like, yeah, I already destroyed the vouchers. You're good.
Exactly. I thought that was a really fun exchange. And I remember you telling me that, because I hate the Ferengi still. I'm still in that camp. And you're like, you're going to love them. You're going to love the Ferengi when you get to Deep Space Nine. I can already see that happening potentially, because it was fun. And I mean, they have such a clear character, like a clear stuff that defines who they are.
Right. And I think Quark is like a perfect, Quark and Armin Shimmerman, like, it's a great character. It's fully developed. It's, he can drop into any situation as Quark and it works. So I love it.
Yeah, that was great.
And I did like too the other note that I had on this one was that the time travel discussions were really good. Like basically when, Qatar reveals himself to be Alexander to Worf, and he's like, I'm just trying to change my own future. And Worf, without it being too, like, time travel dependency type thing, he's basically just like, your life is going to end up how your life is, and there's nothing we can do about it. And if you didn't go through all this, you wouldn't be the person that you are now. And
exactly,
and leaves it there. And I really liked that. It was good.
Yeah, top notch parenting moment.
Yeah, exactly. Well done, Worf.
Well done.
And, you know, because we are conscious that we're getting to the end, I feel like it's a really good story for Alexander, to wrap up his character.
Yeah, I mean, this made me feel like Alexander's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I cared about that.
Yeah, no, me too. Yeah, Peace Demish, I was actually going to mention that one too. This has been making the rounds since Regis Philbin died, that there was a cameo from Armin Shimmerman that the clip has been going around the internet, so definitely check it out. It's really fun.
Did you say Regis Philbin died?
Yeah, sorry.
Yesterday? When?
Yesterday?
Oh my god, I missed that.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That was genuine. Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
Did I hear you right? Oh my god, I didn't see anything.
Sorry for breaking that to you live.
I mean, I was never a huge fan or anything, but I didn't hear that he was young. Like, yeah. Oh my god.
He was 88.
Oh well, that's okay. Not that young.
young in spirit. So, but yeah, definitely. I mean, again, as you learn more about Quark, but for anyone else out there, definitely check out that clip because it's really funny. So yeah, let's go on. Any last moments on this one? I think that was everything.
Probably my favorite of the entire group.
Oh, so, awesome! A Klingon episode was your favorite
of this group.
Yeah. That's so funny. That's awesome. I think that's fair. I looking at all of these, I think that's valid. So the next one that we're going to talk about is Bloodlines. This is a TNG Ferengi episode. And, John Saxon also passed away too. So this episode begins with Bach, who's a Ferengi daimon, whose son was killed when Picard was on this USS Stargazer, and Bach wants to kill his unknown son in revenge. So it's like a surprise, you have a son, and I'm gonna kill him. This was probably my least favorite of all of these episodes. Easily. I don't know, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, same. Just kind of forgettable. And, you know, I mean, it was interesting. I think the most interesting part of the whole episode was Picard coming to terms with having a son and trying to deal with that and, you know, try and discover a way he can have a relationship with this person who's very different than he is. And, you know, but then at the end it's like they're not father and son, which I think you know, the son or the whatever his name was being like
Jason,
yeah, being like, can I, you know, look you up sometime, or if you're ever in the area, look me up. I thought that was cool that he accepted the fact that there was this older person that was in Starfleet and all straight and narrow who he could get along with or could learn from, you know, and even though they weren't connected by blood. So that was cool, but at the same time, like, it was just kind of a forgettable episode in my opinion.
I think this is one where they it's like we have two very fatherhood themed episodes in a row here between Worf and then this one with Picard. This one I feel falls into the after school special side of things. The conversation was very much like you know, I love you no matter what, and no matter what, I'll be there for you. But I do like that, like that they ended it where it doesn't matter. He clearly needs a father figure.
Exactly.
From his own, you know, it's not that everyone needs a father figure, but just from his own, like, realization that was a kind of nice relationship for him. So yeah. I liked your note though that I feel like you're like, I feel like birth control should be more of a thing in the 24th century. Yeah.
Valid.
I mean, he didn't seem terribly surprised to have a son wandering around. So
yeah, exactly. Like, it could be.
We've had a few surprise children crop up in the lore of Star Trek, and it's not like they're not getting around. I mean, we're not shy about that, but yeah. I'm glad you like that note. The other thing that was like, there were a couple other notes I had on this one. I felt that Jason's styling, his demeanor, his attitude, that sort of cool boy chic bad boy thing actually made this show feel dated in the early 90s.
Definitely. Yeah. That trope is like full on 90s after school special.
Yeah. He walked right out of Saved by the Bell.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. For sure.
But which I think though is a testament to TNG, that there's been very few episodes that have felt, there you see the characters and we're just like, this is written in the 90s.
yeah, definitely. Some of the storylines for sure, but character wise, in terms of his mannerisms and dialogue, it was like
the workout leotards, those are probably up there too.
Oh yeah. But those are like peak late 80s.
Exactly. And P. Stemish mentioned that, of course, Unexpected Progeny or all TV drama. It's always funny where they're like, you have a kid, and they're like, oh, cool, hey kiddo. And yeah, actually, Todd, that was funny. That was probably my favorite line from this whole episode, is when he's like, you're never gonna look at your hairline the same way again.
I actually he said that, and I wrote in my notes, Picard made a funny.
It was great. We don't, it's like we know that humor's there, we just don't see it as often, but that was really good. I also felt weird about this. When the episode ended, I made the comment that shouldn't we be more concerned that the Ferengi have Picard's DNA somewhere?
Right?
They were able to fake this? Like,
that was, first of all, how did they get it? Unless, wasn't his DNA used in one of the really, it wasn't, I don't think it was the Four Lights episode, but it was another one like that where they used his DNA against him.
Oh, yeah. I forget. DTG, no worries. Hi.
So I was like, they probably made some kind of deal with those people, and that would be bad.
Right. Yeah, that's true, Muhammad.
Nemesis, yeah. I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that's right. Where they cloned him. The Tom Hardy clone. I mean, I suppose so. I just feel like this should be can we get that DNA back or something?
Yeah. I'm hoping there was some deleted scene or something where Crusher was like, we need to figure out how this happened. Because she also saved the day in this episode completely.
With science.
Science.
Yeah. It was great.
Science wins.
And I did like the Ferengi reactions, though, too, to all of this. Like the rest of the Ferengi, that when they were just like, this is hot nonsense, dude.
Yeah, that actually made me love the Ferengi more and go, okay, there's like variation here. Like they think they were like, yeah, you like totally screwed us over.
Yeah. And
we're switching sides like right now because you're an idiot and a liar. And I was like, good on you, Ferengi.
Right.
Because before this, it always seemed to me like they kind of banded together, like they were all sort of the same, other than the Doctor.
Yeah.
So there's been like hints throughout here that have been made me,
but very few though. The TNG Ferengis are very much one note, and that note is not great.
Right. Exactly.
But some of that too might be the fact that like Deep Space Nine, when this came out, is currently airing, and they are fleshing out the Ferengi characters more, so they could just be like, oh, now we mentally have this note that this species is more than one dimension.
Right. So. It is. Yeah. Speaking of Deep Space Nine, so I noticed like in the previous episode, Riker mentions, oh, we have to talk to somebody on Deep Space Nine. And I almost expected him to like look at the camera and like be airing now, like It's like
Stay tuned
they keep dropping in. Exactly.
That is funny. That's really funny. Yeah, good times. Oh, you asked where O'Brien is? He's been reassigned.
Oh, did we know that? Oh, okay. Never mind. I'll wait and see.
You'll find out whenever you turn on your episodes again. He disappeared, like, yeah, O'Brien, they never did anything for him in TNG. He just showed up somewhere else, and we're okay. I think they do explain it in, they do explain it on another show. He's on Deep Space Nine, obviously.
Yeah, no, I know he's on that show, but this was a very transportery episode because they're trying to figure out how Bach is getting through the shields and stuff. Right. So I was like, this is like, where's O'Brien? He should be figuring this out. Who's that person behind the transporter? Like, I don't like you. I don't know you. Where's O'Brien?
I trust O'Brien. Where's Miles? I want Miles back. Yeah. No, he's not working on the Enterprise anymore. Yeah. Yeah, their subspace transporter capabilities. That was fun. That was technobabble nonsense. I can't science it.
I love that they were like looking on the chair, like Jodie's like, someone sat here.
Yeah, totally. That was funny. That was really funny. So that was a good one. Anything else on that episode?
No, all right. I don't think so. Let's move on.
Cool beans. So in Emergence, this is the Orient Express holodeck crazy episode. Yeah. That's all I can say about it. It seems that the Enterprise has a mind of its own, and it's manifesting in these behavior of the holodeck characters, and it's a good old Orient Express mystery episode.
Yeah.
What do you think of this one?
This was very strange. I mean, the actual thing that was happening was really weird. Like, the Enterprise had a baby, and they're like all okay with this and sending this like baby Enterprise thing out into the space time.
I never thought about this episode as in the Enterprise has a baby, and you're absolutely right.
Am I wrong? Did I mishear that?
I mean, it was like a life form that took over the Enterprise and was like growing and using it to get to where it needs to go. And it's just a space entity, but it's the Enterprise having a baby. That's what it is now.
Pretty much. Yeah. It was like incubating and trying to grow the weird, like, I don't know, like Tinker Toy thing in the that like just grows and it's and the so you're right, it takes over the Enterprise, and the Enterprise becomes like
sentient
like Data, like.
Yep.
But then it spits out the baby and then becomes normal again. So like,
I like that.
I mean, so that was just a very strange thing to be doing.
Your notes said this was a weird premise with a weird payoff.
Yep. That's how I felt. But that aside, I loved the holodeck stuff. Like, holodecks are some of my favorite episodes, and like all the mishmashing of different holodeck characters was really cool and fun. And the Enterprise team's like mystification at what's going on there was, and Deanna trying, oh, bless her heart. Deanna is just, trying to talk to the holodeck characters and and they're not responding, and they're making the puzzle, and I don't know. It was that part was kind of fun, but the actual reason was strange.
I agree. I think it was it's a quirky, fun holodeck episode. It's a neat puzzle as they start to piece together like what's happening on the holodeck matches what it's happening on the Enterprise, and it's kind of neat. It's a fun, dorky holodeck episode.
Yeah, and I like all of the holodeck characters were supposed to be representing parts of the ship.
Yeah.
Like the conductor and the like engineering.
Right.
They're yeah.
Yeah, because
That was cool.
Data convinced the conductor, that he needed to take over,
Yeah.
which then gave him control of the engine on the Enterprise. And
Right.
yeah, it's a good
fun.
episode. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't mind it so much.
It's a romp.
It's a fun romp,
Well,
and you know.
Interesting choice of words. Whoops.
But it's chaotic and goofy, and we need to, TNG's got to go out on at least one bonkers holodeck episode. Right. So, yeah,
absolutely.
All right, so Preemptive Strike. Let's talk about this one. Yeah, Ro Laren is back. And basically, it's a Maquis episode where the Federation sends her to infiltrate the Maquis, to try to basically capture them, to keep them from a preemptive strike on the Cardassians.
Right.
What'd you think of that one?
I was so excited to see Ro again. I missed her. I was very excited to see her. And the Maquis, so this put so much together for me for Voyager.
Really? Okay.
Because when Voyager started, like, it was like the Maquis, and you tried to explain kind of what they were, and like, I was like, okay, cool, I get it, but I didn't really get the emotional impact of them, like, of what they were actually doing and who they actually were. So this really was like, oh, I get it now. Like, I get who they are, why what they're doing is so offensive to certain people in Starfleet, of course. So it really, like, that put a lot of puzzle pieces together for me from Voyager. So that was cool. And then, yeah, Ensign Ro, this was a really interesting story for her. And I think we both agreed that ultimately, like, the conclusion of her story made sense.
Yeah.
But I was sad that she didn't stay with Starfleet personally.
Yeah.
I think she could have done really amazing things, and
yeah.
I don't know if she comes back or not, but yeah, it was definitely expected, but I was a little disappointed.
Yeah. And Stemish in the chat said it would have made sense for her to go to DS9, but then we wouldn't have gotten a Not Visitor. And you haven't met Kira Nerys yet, but she's another Bajoran, and she kind of fills the similar character type that Ro Laren does. And I mean, similarly, I think that her story made sense, but it made, like, so much sense. I questioned the decision making of the Federation to send her on this mission, where it's like, with her background and her file and everything, I mean, she's ripe for joining the Maquis. Yeah. And they basically just handed her over. But it made sense.
It did. I mean, their logic made sense and I mean, Picard was like, with your background and your, like, you have the best chance of infiltrating them. But I guess they didn't know, and, well, they just didn't assume that she would infiltrate and become sympathetic, which is, you're right, a little bit. They could have thought about that a little harder, maybe.
But I think I do think, though, that from a storytelling standpoint, that arrogance of the Federation makes sense. That they're basically like, they haven't stepped back to say, oh, the Maquis have some valid points.
Right, so, exactly.
Yeah. I did really like it. It's been interesting for me watching TNG again, because, as I've said multiple times in this, it's not my favorite series. I like it, and I've seen all of these, and it's good, but I go back and I rewatch Deep Space Nine and Voyager all the time. And I'll go back and watch solo episodes of TNG, but I haven't done, like, a full rewatch. So having done this, for me, I like Ensign Ro a lot more in this watch. Like, I was kind of, and maybe because you liked her so much, that, and through these discussions, I just started to appreciate her more. But when she showed up on this episode, I was like, she's back. Yay! That was good, and I've not really appreciated her as a character until this rewatch. So it's been really good. It's it's interesting.
Yeah, I think she's a great character for only being in 3 episodes,
handful of episodes.
max.
Yeah.
She's had great character development. She's just been, that's saying something, that her character has been so well developed.
Yeah.
In such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I think that they did a really good job. She's one of those characters. Yeah, she's in half dozen episodes, but when you go and when we talk about Ensign Ro, like, people know who that character is, and then when you actually look up how many episodes they're in, it's kind of like, no, that's not. She's in more than that, but it's just because she's a really well developed character. Yeah, but it's a good episode. I'm just really excited to talk about I almost started talking about Deep Space Nine again. I promise I'll stop. I promise I'll stop.
So excited. We're so close.
Yeah. So, again, too, another thing that you haven't necessarily been exposed to as much. So you learned about the Maquis, and I think for people who kind of have caught us watching this now, as opposed to when we started doing this a couple years ago, your like day one introduction to Star Trek was the pilot of Voyager.
Right.
Which, once Voyager takes off, then it's a really accessible series, because there's so much that they're learning for the same time, and you don't need to know Klingon history or, Vulcan personalities or anything like that. But the first episode of Voyager does kind of throw you in it with, they start on Deep Space Nine, there's the Maquis element that's going on, so you're learning.
Cardassians, yeah.
Yeah.
All there.
All there.
Yeah. So definitely, I mean, this episode with Ensign Ro, like, really helped make a lot of connections to the beginning of Voyager for me, and I liked that. I was really excited about it. I was I know what they're talking about.
Yeah. And I did like we said, it made sense for Ro's character to do this, but the scenes with her and Riker and her and Picard, I feel, were very strong. Broke my heart.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought it was interesting, the fact that Riker kind of didn't try to stop her, which I almost thought it was like, he's going to get, written up for that or something. Because, and when he handed Picard his report, I was like, what does his report mention? That he kind of just let her go? I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
And then Picard's expression at the end, like, that was really interesting.
That was anger.
I couldn't. It was anger. It was disappointment. But I couldn't tell at first what way it was going to go. Like, I almost thought it was going to be a hint of a smile, like, because he maybe knew that was going to happen, and she found her place, because he cared about her a lot. But no, it didn't. It went the other way, and so I thought that was a very interesting choice, filmmaking wise, really, just like that really slow track shot around to his face, and you're just not sure what he's going to be feeling about this. And that struck me.
It was angry dad face. It was disappointed angry dad. That stuck with me a lot. It was really good. So sorry. But but her story makes sense. For her to go off, join the Maquis, it's almost like, obviously that's what she was gonna do. With everything going on with the Bajorans and the Cardassians and the Maquis and everything, that's her home. That's her family. So.
Yeah. And that's the only thing that can make me feel better about it, is that she really found her family. Yeah. She fit there.
Yeah, she did. And the guy who played the Maquis leader, Macias,
the guy who died.
Yeah, he was really good. That father figure. Yeah, Stemish. I mean, they did have that chemistry in that one thing that I could never unsee. But they did a good job, I think, though, of sustaining the the chemistry that they had in that episode, where it was like when their minds were wiped and they were kind of like, I'm sensing a thing. And when they kind of sustained that. So I think it worked. But
yeah, it worked for sure.
Yeah, officially it never happened. So shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. All good things. ... The finale of TNG, I always just remembered as the finale of TNG and never actually remembered the actual plot of it, other than Q being involved and stressing me out, because he's a chaotic energy that I don't need.
Yeah, none of us need that,
yeah. But this is a good episode. I enjoy this one.
This is a very good episode, and as finales go, which are never, I don't think I can name one television show finale that's really, really, really good. Like it always is going to disappoint somebody. You've got to wrap everything up. It's like, I mean, but as they go, this was really good. It was solid.
Yeah. It's I think it's a really good. It was good. It's Picard focused.
Yeah.
They do a great job about this time jumping. As a viewer, you're piecing it together as Picard's piecing it together. So you're going on this journey with Picard, which is really fun. And then I really, as much as Q stresses me out, I did really like the scene where he was like, "Your trial never ended. It's always been the trial." And I like that.
I did too. At first I was like, oh God, why are they pulling that? But then at a couple seconds later, I was like, actually, that's a pretty cool idea, to tie it back into the beginning, the very first episode.
Which we know is not that great.
Right. I have to say, I am not a fan of this Q, the Judge Q. It's just it's odd.
Yeah.
I like Q a lot better in Voyager. But this was still a very interesting premise.
Yeah.
And the way that the time travel scenes in this were really well done. I love how they get more rapid toward the middle and end, where he's saying something in one timeline and then it turns around and he's completing the sentence in the next timeline. Like that was really well done.
Yeah.
As those get more rapid throughout the episode, and you really get to wrap up with characters from early on, and you see how people in this particular timeline, how they end up when they're older, and it was really fun to watch, and a good way of wrapping it up.
I will say this is set, the jump forward was like 25 years in the future. I think 25, so. Which is like now, if not around there. And I will say, Jonathan Frakes has aged much better than they aged him in this.
Yeah. He looked like some weird Addams Family character or something.
So well done, Jonathan. Well done, Frakes, sir. You've aged very well.
Yes.
And they obviously all have. They had to make the aging look more extreme. But they all look great and better than they did in this episode.
Right.
But I really like the Devron Anomaly thing. I mean, I'm not even going to try to explain anti-time versus antimatter and all that ridiculous stuff, because that's not what this episode is for. But it's really interesting that I like the Devron Anomaly moving backwards through time, and then realizing kind of like what caused it, and that it was like their own actions that was making it worse. And so this anti-time that they were like pushing into it is basically shoving this thing back through time that will eventually consume. And so I'm going to make a plug here for a board game that myself and my partner love and we play all the time. It's called Chrono Trek. It's a card game. It took us a while to get the learning curve of it, a couple tries of getting the instructions out when we play. But essentially what you do is you have these cards that are all a timeline, and then you play characters and they go up in difficulty based on their pips, and you have to collect things, and you also have to have the timeline be a certain way in order to win. And so you have these lynch points that you flip over, that you change a timeline, and then that affects other timelines. And so it's
God.
cool. That really
sounds awesome.
It's really fun. But one of the sort of time limiters on the game is the Devron Anomaly. It starts at the very end, and then you get these cards as you flip them over that are events where the Devron Anomaly expands. And if the anomaly goes all the way back to 3.5 billion years ago, then Q wins the game.
That is awesome.
It's really, really good. So it's called Chrono Trek. People should definitely, I'll throw it in the chat in a second, but I really like that game, and I will plug it. The art is also great. And anyway, I'll stop geeking out about it. And then Jedi AK-47, hi. Said it thought it was funny that Picard was a crotchety old man. Equated that to depression and alcohol from Troy dying. That's an interesting take on that, actually. It was interesting the way that they portrayed him in this versus the way, now that we've watched Picard, that it's interesting. And then as Stemish mentioned, that this was the introduction of that disease that he has.
Yeah. I liked that. I mean, this is also obviously planting all the seeds for Picard, and making those connections, having seen Picard, which no one would have seen, of course, when this was first airing. Like, Picard just came out this year. So, and I've seen that. So then I'm making these, like, they're really doing a good job of pulling all these cards out. And what was I going to say? So like, the 25-year future timeline then just gets erased.
Yeah, pretty much. What they were doing.
Right.
The depression was about Riker looking the way he did. Poor Riker. Like I said, well done, Frakes. You've aged well, sir. I do love we can't not. We were joking about this even with some of my other friends during one of our convention recordings about Q. You've always been Q. The way Q says Q is just brilliant. I love it. I mean, he has a point. We did start as Goo, but that was just. We didn't start as Goo. We started as Q. I love it. And so an interesting thing, we're talking about finales, series finales and stuff. I get very emotional with series finales because I've been very attached to these characters, and I get very attached to characters in TV shows, and the finale is always sad because it's always a farewell to the characters, and it's like they're not in our lives anymore. And there's a few that I will cry every time I watch. Other series finales have made me end up hating the show and wishing I never watched it, and angry that I wasted my time on it, and my emotional energy. Talking to you, How I Met Your Mother. Still angry about that.
Agreed. Hard agree.
Hard agree. Still angry. But this one didn't feel sad. It was a good story, but yeah. And I think I think I'm right in assuming that it's because they were already filming Star Trek Generations, where they're handing over the films from the original series to the TNG crowd. So the TNG crowd was already signed up for one movie. They know that they're going to be making more movies. So you don't get that feeling from the actors that this is their last time together, which I think is what carries through successful series finales.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because as a viewer, it's a joyful send off, because it's not really the end, which I definitely got the same feeling, and like I said, it was a surprisingly good finale. I feel like. Yeah. It was, so we were joking about the 25 years in the future, but they styled the past ones, the
7 years prior when we're on the Enterprise in the dorky uniforms, and Tasha Yar is there, and O'Brien is on the bridge, and that was successful too. It felt like it was back in that time.
I know. Yeah, that was really surprising, that they were able to. I mean, they really inhabited their characters from 7 years ago in a really impressive way, I thought. I mean, 7 years isn't exactly that long to age as a person, but they were more youthful 7 years prior than they were in, the last episode. So they just did a really good job of that.
And I think they brought an innocence that made it work. It wasn't like they were de-aging them, but they were like a little bit more naive and a little bit more like, oh, we're on a new ship. This is a big deal. This is the flagship type thing. This is a big posting. And yeah, you felt that. It was really good. O'Brien is just trying to impress.
O'Brien. Oh.
I will say, though, that uniform was not flattering on that dude. That uniform's hard to pull off anyway. But.
Right. That uniform, is not that flattering on anybody, really. And it looks uncomfortable. It just...
This is that super tight one that has the sort of folded lapel type look, and it makes everybody look like pinheads. Yeah. Yeah. So that was a good design choice to move away from that.
Well done.
But yeah, it's this is a good episode. I really thoroughly enjoy it. Yeah, Rouge. Because everyone can pull off mustard yellow as well.
Peace Demish, it's a bus, not a streetcar, unfortunately. I don't live on that street.
Would be nice, though.
I could pretend it's a streetcar.
Yeah, right. So just to kind of close out, because I think we both have really hard stops at the top of the hour, so we don't want to go too long. We've finished TNG.
We've done it.
You've now watched all of Next Generation for the first time, so I'd love to hear your overall thoughts on Star Trek, because when this started, we were kind of like, we'll watch Voyager, and you liked that. We kept going, and then you wanted to see the TNG episode that scared the pants off of you, that put you off of Star Trek when you were a kid. I should clarify, when you were a kid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, knowing me, it could have been yesterday.
But I'd love to hear your thoughts on Star Trek and what you thought of TNG and just kind of your lasting, memories of this. Not that you're not ever going to watch it again, but...
Well, I think I'd be similar to you with Next Generation, and that I would watch one-off episodes for sure. You left the note on the doc, what's your favorite episode from TNG? And I was like, oh man, there's so many, I don't know, all the names, but then Darmok, of course, just sprang into my mind. So that's an easy one to say right now, but that's probably one of the favorite ones. And for Star Trek in general, I had always assumed it was kind of more of a science-y space show. But it's really more about the people and the humans and the, interactions with other species, and it's all about metaphor and allegory, and that has been a really fun realization. And it's relatable, and I've definitely really appreciated the story of the people of Star Trek, and watching Next Generation was a really, really big deal for me, because I remember when I was a kid, somebody needs to do a supercut of all the times I've said what age I was in every video, because I've been 6, 4, 10, 8, 5, I don't know how old I was, but I was little. And I remember distinctly watching Geordie LaForge was in this episode, and it was this thing, and it was that was my vision of Star Trek, was this scary show with a guy who has a thing around his eyes, and it's all science fiction-y,
and then all of his veins pop out, and
all of his veins pop out, yeah. And then Dr. Crusher puts his visor back on, and in the end he's okay. And that was what I thought of Star Trek. And watching it now, I'm like, every time I see Journey to the Forge, I'm going to think of that. But at the same time, I'm now feel like I'm really into the story on a much wider scale. And yeah, I'm really excited to keep going.
Yeah, and your relationship with the characters has evolved too. I think like when we started, I think Data was like one of your favorite ones, and it's just some of his adorable, like Data just has some adorable moments in it.
It does.
But then it kind of evolved to to Worf, and that Worf ended up being one of your favorite characters, and it was really interesting.
Definitely, yeah. Data ended up just kind of annoying me by the end, and yeah, you're right. I mean, I definitely evolved into my favorites and my not favorites. My favorite was Tasha Yar, and then she was taken away.
I know. That was still one of my favorite moments, because we were watching TNG you're watching it for the first time, and I get a text from you, and you were like, I love Tasha Yar, and I'm just like, oh. And then when she died, you were all I got was like 24 crying face emojis.
And you're like, oh, it happened.
That happened. And I was lucky enough to, like, a week after that, I think, I was going on the Star Trek cruise, not this year, but the previous year with Denise Crosby, and I told her that story, and she was just like, tell her I'm sorry. I was sad too. Because, yeah,
so then it was so sad, but then my love needed to be placed elsewhere. So, liked Data for a hot second, but then it was all about Worf.
Yeah.
A Worfable.
Yeah, a Worfable. Or a Worfable. There you go. And thanks again. That was A. Harvey 2Ks there. That was his gift, so I appreciate it. Yeah, so the question from DS9er fan, they're also excited. What was your most favorite Worfable moment?
Oh, gosh. I should have prepared an answer for that.
And I'll tell you mine while you're thinking. And then also Jedi's poking you, saying you've got a thing for tactical officers. For me,
I do actually. It's right. I got it. It took me a second.
My favorite Worfable moment is probably in the recent one that there's a few actually. His birthday is brilliant. With the birthday hat is still one of my favorite cuts. But then also when he's playing the holodeck with Alexander and they're doing their spaghetti Western movie. Yeah. And I love that. I love it. So
there's so many. I am gonna have to look back through our notes. And when we do the episode next week, I'll say what my favorite Worfable moment. The only one that just sprang to mind was the Robin Hood episode, but that's not the top one. That just sprang to my mind.
I am not a merry man.
Oh, I know. One of my favorites is definitely in the spa. And he's just like, so we just sit here. That's how I feel in the spa.
That's great. That's fair. Synth Pop brought up the prune juice one. That's great. Where he was like, early on, where with Guinan, when he's like, "What is this?" and she's like, "Prune juice," and he's like, "A warrior's drink." That's a good one.
You must be a warrior to enjoy that.
Yeah. And then A. Harvey mentioned Worf's parents.
Oh,
we love them.
Yeah, so. That reveal was probably one of my favorite moments when. He's like, my parents are coming, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna meet Worf's parents. They're gonna be Klingons. And they come on, and I was like,
yeah, two super dorky Russian parents. Like, yeah. I love them. That's probably another really good one too.
That was such a cute episode.
And then I love too, where he's like, good tea, nice house. That's another great one too.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Actually, yeah. I'll go through the notes and find my favorite ones for next week.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good one. Yeah, we love it. We love him. Yeah. And then too, we also got what a handsome race. That was really good. That's a great one too.
So many.
We also got more Barkley. Because when we watched Voyager, when Barkley came on, I'm like crying. I'm like, yeah, Barkley's back. And you're like, cool.
Ooh, who is that? In Voyager, yeah. So Barkley, absolutely. I mean, he's probably my second favorite character.
Awesome.
Except for Spider Barkley. I'm never going to be able to forget that.
Cannot unsee.
Cannot unsee.
None of us can.
No.
Yeah.
But I am doing my own little Voyager rewatch right now.
Oh, yay!
just because, and I can't wait to get to that moment when Barkley and Deanna, like, they have their little session in Voyager.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, oh, look, there's two people.
I feel like I should know who they are. Yeah.
And I had no emotional attachment to somebody,
yeah.
Yeah. So now I can't wait to get there and be like, oh, look, it's Deanna and Barkley.
Yeah.
I know so well.
Exactly. That's awesome. I love that you're doing a Voyager rewatch already.
Yeah. And now I'm wondering how, like, you've done it with Next Gen, because I am literally like going, oh, look, there's a Kess episode, there's a Neelix episode. I'm like fast forwarding through, like, I don't need to see this again. I don't need to see this again.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the luxury of having, now that you've watched them, you know which ones to skip. But like I said, though, especially because I always have my, I read the synopsis and the title and I'm like, all right, yeah, that one, nope. But doing this full rewatch, particularly with TNG, there were some episodes where I was like, I didn't remember them at all, and they ended up being some of my favorite ones. I think, I'm forgetting which one it was. There was one recently that stood out for me, so I shouldn't.
It was the one right after the good one last time. Because you said, I think I've seen it. Oh, no, not that one.
No, that one I'd seen a surprising number of times because it's right after my favorite one. That was the radioactive data one that I've seen for a lot of times because it's right after a really good episode. This is why we can't remember proper nouns. This is why we take notes, people.
This is why. Yeah. We have bad memories.
Oh, Synth Pop, I cry every time the 37s is on. 37s.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, but the final scene in that is so good. When she opens the cargo bay. It's
early in Voyager. I was thinking it was like the second to last season or something, but it's like the first or second season.
Oh, thanks for the follow, Marker. Yeah. So good. All right.
So good.
So, Deep Space Nine.
Here we go!
Deep Space Nine is coming.
It's happening.
This is happening. I can't, I cannot wait to, just for myself, it's like, oh, it's been like, I don't know, Jedi, when did we finish Deep Space Nine? It was like at least not even a year ago, for sure. Not even, because we were in our current place. But oh, that's awesome, Synth Pop. I love Darmok. It's great. There's
Darmok is so up there.
Yeah, and if anyone's interested, you can find my YouTube channel down below. When we did our Darmok review, we did it with Redemption, and Mary Chifo did it with us because she had also never seen that Darmok episode, but she'd seen all the Klingon ones. So check that out because that was a really fun discussion.
It's a really fun discussion.
And I think we will discuss this at great lengths. I'm glad everyone's so excited for Deep Space Nine, because I'm that excited. We're going to discuss at great lengths why I personally also feel like it was underrated, because I have opinions. But I think I'm glad more people are discovering it. I'm glad it's becoming people's favorite series, because it's so, so good. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. It's going to be great. So anyway, we'll be back next week then.
We'll be back next week.
All right. Awesome. So thank you, everyone. We got things we got to run and do today. So, but this was fun, Samantha. Thank you.
This was really fun. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
See you all next week.
It was a journey. Yep. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Okay. Bye.